Welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast with your hosts, Vernon and Nigel. The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds.
Hello and welcome to this week's Red Shirt Podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Coming up, we're going to review the Wolves game. Then, it's happening. The prodigal son has returned. Viva Ronaldo! And Champions League draw has happened. We're going to review our opponents and the coming up fixtures. So, Nigel, it's Bank Holiday Monday. It's grey. It's cold. But we've got Viva Ronaldo.
Viva Ronaldo!
So, Errol, come in and how are you doing?
Well, I am the prodigal one of this show, aren't I? Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Great,
We're
man.
okay, thanks.
Fantastic.
So, we're going to start with yesterday's game. So, Sunday, we played away a game against Wolves. Now, usually, Wolves is a very tricky fixture. You know, no Nuno now because he's gone on to Wolves. When you looked at the lineup, Errol, was you surprised at the changes that Ollie made? And what was your sort of like your first impressions of the first few minutes, apart from the fact of how are we still in this game?
First of all, Vernon, Nuno's gone to Spurs.
Where did I say he went?
You said Wolves. Well, there
sorry.
you go. Yesterday, happy to see Sancho, Varane start, but the strange thing was he's put Sancho on the right, really, instead on the left. He tends to play a lot on the left for Dortmund, so strange one. I think the one with Dan James was if he tried to combat Traore, didn't work because he's a very hard opponent to stop. The only thing that's lucky is he can't finish, which was very lucky for us. The midfield was wrong again. I have to say, you know, a lot of them didn't play very well. Fred, though, was really poor for my liking. Just don't think he's playing well at the minute. Can't understand why he won't throw Van der Beek in. And we just looked really out of balance for a long time. We were lucky in the sense that they had some really poor finishing for a Premier League team. That's 3 games from now without a goal. So obviously something's not quite right with Wolves and maybe we've played them at a good time. Never an easy fixture for us. Always a tough game home and away. Remember two seasons ago, I think we played them in the Cups as well, and it just got really stale, the games. But to be fair, I thought they played quite well. They played on the front foot. They had a real good go at us. Some really lightning sort of counter-attacks against us. De Gea makes a great double save to keep us in the game late on. But then we get the talking point, don't we, with Pogba. Was it a foul? Wasn't it a foul? Should it have been a red card? Maybe just a yellow card. Why didn't the ref give it? Why didn't VAR give it? We then go on and score the goal. They say we should have given the ball out, you know, knock the ball out of play, but you don't have to knock the ball out. You play on unless the referee states so.
Is now the ideal team. Now we've got Ronaldo. And literally that was the team. It was that same back four, Pogba and Fred, Greenwood, well, actually, bar James. It wasn't James, it was Greenwood and Sancho feeding either Ronaldo or Cavani. So I was quite happy to see that team. I was quite interested to see how that team would perform. But again, obviously I went on the attack last week, didn't I? Fred's my guy, but Fred is just having a bad vein of form. It happens to all the footballers. They go through a bad vein of form. I can hear all the Fred haters now saying he's been on this vein of form for ages. But in all seriousness, he's had a terrible couple of games. And go on.
Sorry, the conundrum I think with Fred, it's a conundrum because you look at man of the match performances in Paris, man of the man performances away at the Etihad, and other various players. So there's a player there. It's about consistency. I think the problem was like yesterday, it was like all the bad performances that you could have rolled into one. I mean, there was that situation where they broke and you thought, oh, Fred's got it, he's going to control it, and it goes off his shin. Oh.
Listen, at that point, my phone pinged like crazy. Everybody, all the Fred haters came at me. And there's nothing I could say. I just had to say, you know what? That was awful. It was just unforgivable.
And then that brings you to the point, doesn't it, where you're thinking, and he's scrambling, and you're thinking, Fred, leave him. And he drops in the box, and you can see his hands, and you think he's treading water. He's going to bring him down. And you're like, don't bring him down. Don't bring him. We'll take the goal. And then you have the clearance, one of the clearances of the season by Wan-Bissaka, who obviously reads what's going to happen, decides to leave Jimenez, and he does what he should do, shouldn't he? Which is obviously cover the line.
Right.
And we got away from it, didn't we, Errol?
We did get away with one yesterday. I mean, it wasn't a good performance by any means. You know, you don't even have to be an analyst to know that. We were well off par. But, you know, I'm not just going to give it Fred, because nearly all of them were well off par. The midfield just wasn't working. We weren't creating anything. I mean, Wolves, even under this new manager, is it Lage? You could see the two banks at the back. There was, I think I said at one point, we were watching it together, weren't we? And there was 6 across the back line. It's very hard to break down, but you know, good teams they find this way to break down, and we just couldn't do it yesterday. And you know, we got away with one, didn't we? Really,
I think for me, the problem was, especially in the first half, there was like a total lack of movement from the forward line. You know, looking to drop in to the space, because you could see Pogba. Now, for me, unfortunately, Pogba can't play like as a central midfielder. I can see why they play him left as right, because as bad as Fred was yesterday, I think there were times when he was left exposed in there up against 2 or 3 players, because you could see that where it broke down, and you could see like Pogba, and this is the risk you take with Pogba, because that's his game, you know, where he's ambling back and he's jogging back. I mean,
I'm going to second that, Vern. So this is where the in-game management has to come in. This is where Ollie has to earn his money, because we've set up 4-2-3-1. Yeah, we're getting overrun in midfield. What is the obvious thing to do?
React.
Well, just get one player back into the midfield. Say, Bruno, drop into the midfield for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's just steady the ship.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, absolutely. You're getting overrun here. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing comes from the bench. But even the players should say, you know what? Okay, Bruno, drop back in. You know what I mean? I will play 4-3, and, you know, we'll set up evenly against them and see what happens. Or go to 4-4-2, because, you know, if they're going to be playing us in the break, we might as well set up 2 banks and beat them on the break as well. But where's the in-game management?
You know, you could see with like Traore, Wan-Bissaka's thinking he's gone deep for the ball. I can't go that deep. Do you know what I mean? Because somebody then can run it behind me. And they pick up the ball in really good positions, don't they? And then all of a sudden, they're on your back 4. And it's funny because, I mean, the thing is obviously Jimenez is out of form. He's recovering from a bad injury. But what Eric alluded to later was, if they had a forward, the game would have been done after half an hour, wouldn't it? We would have been 3-0 down. You know, I think that's fair to say. Now, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to, first of all, bring us to the double save, because I know that he has his critics, but I'm starting to think that Hayer's back. That double save yesterday, you know, and I was reading an interview this morning that Ollie said that he came back early for training, because I think he needs to get his head right. Errol, you've played in net. You've played with quite a good success at amateur level in net. Can you see that his focus is back?
I've never not believed in him. I think, like Nigel just said there, you know, we all sort of jump on about Fred. Every player has a downturn in form. Every player, goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, strikers. You know, he did. The problem with goalkeepers is when they dip, it's a really bad dip, because it's costing you goals. Players can, like Fred, can have a bad game, but we can still win the game. Cavani can have a bad game, we can still win the game. Keepers, it's so difficult because your concentration, you've got to be on it mentally for 90 plus minutes. You know, I can play at left back and play 70 minutes and win a game. I can do that because you're not involved in the game all the time. And with keepers, because they're not involved in the game most of the time, they've got to be switched on. I think we're seeing, and you go back to like the Roma game last year, he was outstanding. And yesterday, he didn't have that much to do in terms of, you know, real sort of scrambling saves. But the double save there, the guy should really score. He should score. he makes sure that doesn't go in. That keeps us in the game. We then go up the other end not long after and score. And that's the difference. It's keeping you in the game. And that, that kind of was the story of the game yesterday. United just stayed in the game, didn't they? We were poor, but we stayed in the game.
I'm going to come to the goal because obviously there's been a lot of controversy about was it a foul, wasn't it a foul? The one thing that I noticed during the game, and I think we alluded to it, Errol, was that Wolves were dropping like flies, weren't they? And getting the fouls, weren't they? I mean, there was sometimes when they were getting touches like Semedo, and they were all guilty of it. Traore. I think there was one where on Jimenez where Varane got the ball, didn't touch Jimenez, but there was a foul given against him. And the goal comes, so the ball comes to Pogba, and he miscontrols it. Yeah. And he obviously sort of like wins it back, doesn't he, stretching out. Neves thinks he's fouled. He sort of like carries on running and then stumbles, wondering why he hasn't got the foul. This morning and all last night, there's been a lot of controversy, like obviously the analysis was it should have been a foul. He should have been sent off. Graham Souness nearly killed himself on Sky Sports last night, saying it was a leg breaker. Now, Graham, you need to be careful what you say because I've seen two of your leg breakers, and believe me, they weren't in those category. So just hold it off, mate. We know you've got an agenda. We know you've got an agenda, but just hold it off because you're starting to spoil it for other people. Yeah, keep whatever you've got personally to yourself, pal. Yeah.
Well said. It was comical. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you thought it was a foul, but having watched it like a gazillion times, like TV lets you watch it, I'm thinking I don't be seeing this contact made unless I'm missing something. I see that Jimenez thinks it's going to be a foul. It's the way he turns back and looks at the referee and then decides he's going to. I'm like, did he get booked for simulation?
No, he got booked for obviously his reaction.
Oh, for his reaction. I thought he got booked for the simulation. I'm like, no, it's clearly not a foul.
But Dean was there, wasn't he? Dean can see it. You can see Dean looking at it. And it's like Errol, it went to VAR. VAR straight away said it's a goal. Jamie Carragher on his commentary said there's nothing wrong with it. It's a goal. If you slow anything down, it's going to look bad, isn't it? And show you 5 or 6 different angles, isn't it, Errol? I mean, we've played the game like you have, Nigel. And there are times where you might catch somebody, but it's not a foul.
He does catch him. If you watch very carefully, you'll see his shin pad move. I don't think it's a malice type tackle in it. When you go back to the game before with Manchester City and Arsenal, Xhaka absolutely throws himself. What's happened with Pogba is not a very good first touch, and his second touch is a tackle. He's lunging. Yeah, that's where it doesn't look good. He's got every right to go for the ball. It's a 50-50. He does catch the lad, but what Neves does wrong is he tries to be honest, and then he looks at the referee and says, come on. Now, we had this with the Bruno one, and people say, well, there wasn't enough contact, so are we saying the same again? And the other way you got to flip it is, would we want the foul if it was the other way around? Then Wolves went on and scored.
I think it's interesting because I was looking at it, and I was looking at the Fernandes one last week, and all the professionals said with the Fernandes one, it wasn't a foul. He's got to be stronger. That's from a professional football's point of view.
And I agree.
But refereeing is all about interpretation.
Yeah.
And VAR is about interpretation. It's not about it is a foul or it isn't a foul. It's how they interpret it. And I think this is what we've got to Jamie Carragher, who, you'd say he's an honest professional, isn't he? He was an honest professional. He knew, good career. If he's saying it's not a foul and he's seen it, then you're kind of going with that judgment, aren't you? Because, he knows how to foul, doesn't he, Errol? He's a professional footballer.
Yeah, but the funny thing was, Souness last week said it was a foul on Fernandes, so he's flip-flopped now.
Yeah.
He did say last week he felt it was a foul. I thought it was a foul because he steps across the player before he contacts the ball. The one with Pogba, it's difficult to see if he just nicks the ball and then it's what you call the follow-through, and he does catch the lad. He does catch him. But Mike Dean has deemed it as not a foul. Now, going back to what you said earlier, we weren't getting decisions for minimal contact, which they
Correct.
said they were looking at changing.
Mm.
But we weren't getting that. There was many a foul in that game where you'd embarrassed to go down if we was playing on a Sunday morning because your own teams would give you stick for it.
Yeah.
Greenwood, just a quick question. The first teenager since which Premier League striker to get three goals in 3 consecutive games?
Robbie Fowler.
Robbie
Correct.
Fowler. We all heard it.
I thought United after that, to be honest with you, for the last, like after we scored, managed the game really well. I think, it was kind of like, it was like a punch, like when you're up against the ropes and, a bit like Ali Foreman. And then all of a sudden you get this punch from nowhere and that goal rock wolves, didn't it? If there was, I didn't think they were going to get an equaliser after that. I thought if anybody was going to score, it was going to be us again.
Yeah, I was going to make that point earlier. I just, given all the chances that they had, they just seemed to lack potency up front. So I was not worried that they were going to score a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the goal line clearances aside, I was quite confident. I don't think we're going to concede in this game. I don't think they can score now. And so I was quite. So I always thought it's for us to either win or draw. But I didn't think they were going to score.
So I think in the end, and I don't know about you guys, but my summary was that great 3 points, because at the end of the day, if it had finished 0-0, I would have turned around and thought, you know what, we got away with one there. We're lucky not to win, not to lose. But to come away with 3 points, are we seeing a total change in character? And is this a Premier League winning team, Nigel?
Oh, you're asking a very interesting question there. Well, I mean, I was going to say it's a classic smash and grab, and we've done that twice in the space of a week. We smash and grabbed that game yesterday. We also smash and grab Rooney as well. I mean, Ronaldo as well.
We have
from the cup to the city. So I'm thinking it's a great smash and grab week for us. But so last week I complained that if we're serious about winning the league, we've got to be able to go away to Southampton and beat them. It win ugly. I don't care how we win, but we've got to go away and come away with 3 points. And we didn't do that last week. And we played ugly again, but we came away with the 3 points. So honestly, I think like somebody said, the stats don't report how well or how badly you played. It only reports when you got those 3 points on that. So I was quite happy and quite satisfied that we got those 3 points. Yes, there's a lot of work to do, and I'm still a bit nervous about in-game management, like I've already said. But they're the types of games we've got to win if you're serious about winning. Serious about being in the conversation at the end of the year.
Viva Ronaldo! Hello. How do you feel about the transfer?
It's a great transfer for United. On the downside, still think we need the CDM, which we can see, but he's going to lift the team, innit? A couple of things that I'll sort of let you in on here now is apparently Ronaldo was never even on talking terms, and that was from Fabrizio Romano that I was watching today. He was never that close to signing, but once United come in, and we know how slow United are at transfers, how fast was that? That was incredible. That's a deal that Liverpool did for Fabinho. 10-8, Liverpool interested in Fabinho. 8:10, he's signed. It was almost that sort of speed. We just don't do deals like that. I mean, you look at Varane. Sancho's took nearly 10 years. It's a joke, though. But Ronaldo, I mean, the closest one to that was Van der Beek. When we signed Van der Beek, we did that quick. Was a great, and you're thinking, wow, maybe they're getting it together again. But no, you go back to this year, we signed Tom Heaton. It's not really a signing, is he? He's just a backup. No disrespect to him. He's a top professional keeper. But he's not what you'd say is a signing. Not when you got Henderson and De Gea there. He's not going to get past them. So you go on to Sancho. We finally get it over the line. We get Varane. We finally get over the line. And then you get this Ronaldo's going to Man City. And I'm like, no, I work across the road from there. I can't deal with this. I'm gonna have to resign. I'm gonna have to leave my job. So a good friend of mine comes in and he says, and he's a big City fan, and he says to me, it's not happening. There's all talk about United. And I just looked at him and I said, listen, we're not even looking at him. We're not. So I'm looking at my phone and it says talks have ended with Manchester City, and I'm thinking, wow. So I'm, carrying on with work. My brother phones me. I'm like, I can't even pick the phone up because I'm on a job. And then I go on to Sky, and it's United are in. So phone's Vernon. Vernon says, you just have to listen to the press conference. He knows we're interested. He knows where we are. This was a game of poker. Soon as United said, here's the door, come on in, that was it for Ronaldo. He was never going elsewhere, never. And it's fantastic. It's a good feeling factor having him back in it.
I think it's funny because...
Let me dive in, Vern. Let me dive in. Come on. Sat here waiting. I got to dive in. just to point that Errol made, I think some kind of pokery was going on here. And I'm convinced that Ronaldo's agent knew exactly, because if the idea is that the vision is to come back to United, like you said, Errol, United are hopeless when it comes to transfers.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Better way to build momentum, to focus the minds and say he's going to the noisy neighbours. Because apparently everybody's on the phone. Rio's on the phone, Fergie's on the phone, Bruno's on the phone, everybody's on the phone. Because it's like, that just cannot happen. Now, I take you back, because when it first came up, I was like, do you know what? Hughes went to City, Kidd went to City, Tevez went to City, Michael Owen came to United, Schmeichel went to City. So this kind of, Ince went to Liverpool. These kind of things have happened before. And I was like, you know what? And plus, with what happened last year with the whole, the top six wanting to leave the Premier League, I'm thinking there's no loyalty in football. So why should we expect players to be loyal? But then when it started to get close, this idea of seeing him in a City shirt, I was like, somehow this is different. This one's different. And it's because he's undoubtedly one of the best players ever. Him, Messi, Pele, there's only a handful of people that you say are the GOAT. And he's one of the GOATs. And Maradona, of course. And so now you're thinking, no, this is different. We cannot have that welcome to Manchester like we saw with Carlos Tevez. There's no way that's like a changing of the guard. That's like United has-beens. And all of a sudden I thought, this is too big. It's too important.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because I remember at the time with Tevez, and that I think because he played so well for United, the United fans had taken him to that heart. Because he was like a working class hero, wasn't he? He got it. He got what playing for United was about. And it's funny because when you listen to Rooney says he was probably the best striker that he played with. They just worked in tandem with the pressing and that. And there was a lot of bad feeling. I was away for I went to the Cup semi-final, and the League Cups, and he scored against us, and the feeling in the stands, I mean, it was bad. It was, and you're thinking, Ronnie, you can't do it. It was bad enough seeing him come to Old Trafford and score for Real Madrid against us, and then play for like Juventus. I mean, if you'd have gone to City, it's almost like your best friend running off with your wife, innit? That's that's the feeling that you were getting. And then he signs, and it's funny because you look at, like, say, for instance, I mean, I was like looking at like a couple of things, his relationship obviously with Alex Ferguson, the relationship with the players, but also a lot of people don't realize Jorge Mendes' relationship with United. I mean, I don't know, a lot of people don't know, but some years ago, his daughter, she went on placement for a work experience at United. So there's always been this real good feeling. And to me, the transfer pays for itself, doesn't it? I mean, the transfer pays for itself, doesn't it? It's just, one of those.
Have you seen that City fan with Ronaldo on his shirt?
Yeah.
Them paying for it.
But you see, this is where I think there's a funny thing that's happened, because last year they were talking about signing Messi, and Messi decided to stay at Barcelona, and that's a Barcelona team that's in decline. And this year, Ronaldo, like you said, Nigel, before, there was only one place he was going. And it just shows you that how big the club really still is. And you look at the signings this summer, the players that have come in, like Sancho, that's decided to come to United, Varane, these are major European transfers and where they're going. And I think it says a lot about the club. Errol, Ronaldo. Do you think he'll get us 20 plus goals a season?
Well, from what I've heard, Ollie's already said that he's coming straight into the team. So what you got to figure out is who drops out. I mean, he's still got like Rashford to come back. I think it could be Martial who struggles a bit now to get into the side, but we'll see. United have got to get the service to him, and he'll demand that. He will absolutely demand that. If you give him the right service, he can get you 20 plus goals, even in this league. He's unbelievable. I was watching some of his goals, and he's out jumping 6'4" centre halves. It's ridiculous. He can hang in the air as well.
Yeah,
he's unbelievable. But he gives you more than just a jump, doesn't he? You know, it's his presence. You know, you get on the pitch and you turn around and you think, wow, you could have Cavani, you could have Ronaldo, Greenwood, Rashford, Pogba, Bruno, all staring you down. This is what you do when you look at City. You have the likes of De Bruyne, could be a Sterling, a Mahrez, Silva, Jesus, you know, whether you rate him or not. But you look at that attacking force and you're thinking, that's firepower.
The competition between him and Messi is fierce.
Yeah.
Even in their old age, they are the first thing they look at as soon as the game is finished is, has Messi scored, has Ronaldo scored. Yeah. Ronaldo doesn't do second place. He's determined. He's gonna. Cause I think the scores now are there's 3 goals between them. You know, in terms of the top goal scorer of all time. Yeah. Ronaldo's ahead by 3 goals. Ronaldo has no intention of coming second to Messi.
No.
So he will demand that the whole team understands what his focus is. It's about legacy for him. So that whole team better understand how to service him. I don't think it's a question of if they're going to service him. It's like there's fundamental changes here because I need my 35 plus goals a season because he's going to bag him at PSG. So I'm bagging him here at United. So that's to our benefit. Yeah, there's no way he's going to have Messi winning the Champions League. I'm telling you, this guy's obsessed.
I know he's obsessed.
And when I start to think about it, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, this is a game changer because he's not going to jeopardize his legacy. He's a winner. He's been a winner all his life. And the difference between him and Messi is Messi's gifted, Ronaldo's talented. So Ronaldo understands he has to work hard. So imagine him turning up at the ground at 6 o'clock in the morning. And when everybody else rolls in at 9 o'clock, he's going, where have you been? I've been here for 3 hours. You know, get your butts in here earlier because we've got work to do. It's great. It's great.
And I think what I'm going to do before we go on to the next subject is I'm going to all ask you your favourite Ronnie goal.
Favourite Ronaldo goal? It's a difficult one. There's the free kick against David James.
Yeah.
And there's the one in Lisbon. Porto. In the Champions League, where he smashes it to about 35 yards.
Yeah.
Ridiculous hit. Yeah. Absolute. So for me, one of them.
Well, you, Nigel?
So you know how Eric's favourite goal is a goal he didn't score? Where it's the one he set up for Dennis Irwin. You know, the flip. Flipping it outside the foot that goes over and Dennis Irwin smashes
against Tottenham.
Yes, against Tottenham. So I'm embarrassed, but I can't remember who scored the goal, but it's one where both him and Rooney get it from the edge of our box and they literally run through they keep passing it to each other.
Is it Park?
Was it Park against Arsenal?
That's the one.
Yeah. Is it?
What a goal. So obviously I can't remember who scored it or not, but it's just the way that the ball took it and basically took on the whole team and then we scored that goal. It's like, that's my favourite running moment.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like I was looking at, you go through his goals that he scored and you forget, like you've got that free kick in the Champions League semi-final against Arsenal, where it's kind of like, on the touchline, it's like that far out, and he hits it, and Almunia just can't get to it. You know what I mean? And you think to yourself, wow. But I think my favourite one has got to be that one against Porto, and the reason being because I was at the first leg where we drew 2-2, and he just ripped that goal from nowhere, and that's what I think he brings to the team. You know, it's a guy that can just score goals from all over the pitch. You know, he will just hit it, and before you know it, it will be in the back of the net. So,
before you move on, just carry on with that. So you've got Ronaldo, and obviously there's talk about him getting his number 7 shirt back. I think in fairness to Cavani, he offered it back to him, didn't he? And there's
I don't think you can do it once the season starts. Can
that's
you,
what
Errol?
they say. And that's what they
Yes,
say.
you
But
can. You can get special dispensation from the Premier
there you
League.
go.
But going on, United last Thursday was the draw for the Champions League. United got drawn in the groups against Villarreal, Atalanta, and young boys Bird. It is on paper. It looks, it doesn't look a tough group, but when you start looking at it, it's not as easy as it looks, is it, Errol?
No, I tell you what, Atalanta. You speak to City fans, they'll tell you they are a tough team, and they're very entertaining to watch. Actually, they call them the entertainers in Syria. Italian teams, they usually set up quite well, sort of defensively, hard to break down. But Atalanta are a good side. Villarreal, we know about them. We know they always play for a 0-0 draw on penalties, even in the group stage. Young boys are the ones that you say definite home and away wins. The difficult game is the away game because they play on the artificial pitch. But we shouldn't be fearing them. They should be fearing us. Yeah. So young boys for me is 2 wins. Villarreal, I think we should beat them home and away. I think Atalanta will be a tough away game. Home win for me. Maybe a draw away.
I think we've got a really good squad now. And if you'd asked me before the transfer window, then I'd be very nervous about all of those games. I think a lot of those, what I now expect to be wins, would have been draws. But I expect us to finally batter Villarreal. They're due one. All we've ever done is draw with them. I think they need a good battering now. They need we owe them one. You know what I mean? They took the Europa Cup last year. They need a good battering for that. And so I totally expect it to be. And plus, we just got stellar players now, as Errol said. It's a different United from last year. So we fear no one. Now, I think as Errol was speaking, I was really thinking again about, now I'm worried again because you forget who the manager is. He can actually end up just getting in the way. It really needs to be very careful not to put leashes on our stellar players. We're not going to play defensive football anymore. We're not going to be worried about the opposition because we've got more than enough to take care of anybody in front of us. We've got to believe that, haven't we? Because we've got great players now. And so, I mean, even the way Errol kind of surmised the results, I totally agree with him. I think, I can see at least 4 wins and maybe the draw. So I'm quite confident there.
We should be at least looking to get to the semi-final, shouldn't we? With this squad, and you playing one-off games. I mean, what do you think, Errol? I know the cup's a lottery, but we've got to be basically looking to get out the group stage straight away, haven't we?
I think, and I'm going to go back to it again. If you got that certified CDM in there, you've got everything you need to take you on a very good run in the Champions League. The problem is if we keep playing with the midfield the way we are, we'll get exposed by the better teams. They'll overrun us. Yesterday's game was due to really poor finishing by Wolves. They must be absolutely kicking themselves how they've got no points because they looked a better team than they did under Nuno.
I thought that.
I was impressed.
I thought we made them look good, if I'm honest. I always knew that Adama was gonna. It's just too muscular. How do you carry that? How do you carry that size around for 90 minutes? I knew he'd end up blowing out of his ass because you just have to look at the size of him, and it's showing by 60 minutes he's gone.
I
actually thought we did a lot to assist Wolves yesterday. I thought that's what we got to cut out, if I'm honest.
I think with Traore, Nigel, I think what raised him down is the amount of baby cream and baby oil that he puts on his arms.
He does put a load on, doesn't he?
I think that's what wears him out. But tomorrow sees the transfer window close. So just before we finish, what do we see happening tomorrow? I mean, there's been a few loans already. Brandon Williams has gone out on loan. Pereira's gone out on loan. You've got obviously Gardner's gone on loan. Levitt's gone on loan. There's talking about Ahmad going on loan today. I think it's broken down. He's moved to Feyenoord, but they're still looking for him tomorrow. Do we envisage anybody coming in after the Ronnie deal? Or, You know, do we see a right back coming in, Errol, or do you think they'll keep with Dalot? Do you see any incomings and outgoings tomorrow?
Dalot is staying. That's 100%. That was from Romano today, which I think is good. I think he deserves a chance this season. And if he doesn't prove it, then, you know, move him on. But I think he had a good season at AC Milan. People say it's only Serie A, but he was with a team and styles of teams that, you know, they train heavily on defending. And he did play well.
He did, actually.
He did. Coming in, it's difficult because I think it's more about getting out now. Players like Lingard and James, they're not going to get a lot of game time now. When you look, you've even got Juan Mata. He's not even seen a ball yet, and he signed a new deal. It's ridiculous. You know, Van der Beek can't get a kick. He should be in before half of them, and he's not getting a kick. So I think players like Lingard for his own career, Dan James, I think, he's talk about maybe a loan. I think there's 2 or 3 clubs that are interested in buying him. Get some money back in.
Aren't they? Leeds are interested.
I think Leeds, Brighton, Leicester have heard are possibly interested. But if you get one in, for me, I'm not bothered about the right back. It's a CDM. But whether we can get one now is going to be so difficult.
What about coming to you, Nigel? Do you see Lingard and Martial going out on loan tomorrow? Maybe
they've got to for their own goods. I mean, of course, we're back to United unable to do anything quickly, and obviously with the exception of me, Ronnie, that we discussed already, they need to go. I mean, absolutely for their own good, and it's not a bad thing. It's like I want them to go so they can play football. That's most of the night. Yeah, so absolutely Lingard go. Absolutely, Tony Marshall go. And I mean, I actually agree with Errol again. That I think it's good that Ahmad stayed. I was quite disappointed to see his name, to hear him going. I thought, no, he needs to be, especially with the stellar players we've got now, he needs to be around those guys day in, day out, watching them train. And that can only be a good thing for him. It's funny, actually, because somebody once said on a blog, one of the City fans said, they were kind of relaxed about Ronaldo coming to Old Trafford until he realised that he might actually turn Fred into Kante. And I thought, I laughed at first, and then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
And there's probably some thinking around. We've got to do something about the CDM role. And is there somebody inside that club, somebody we might not even have thought of, even someone like a Bailly? I know it sounds crazy, but could Bailly do it? Could Lingard, Lindelof, could Lindelof be the CDM? I'm thinking we might already have that person.
But yeah, I mean, it can happen because sometimes that's what happens, doesn't it? You get a player in and he plays a role and he's suited.
I'd be absolutely delighted if Lindelof could develop his game and play that CDM. Okay, then predictions: are we going to win it or not?
Do you know what? I'm gonna say this now, and I agree with Errol. If we'd got the CDM, I think we would have been with the money. Yeah, I think we would have. What I think we will be is I think we're going to be challenging, and I think we're going to make it a challenge. Last year, we didn't make a challenge. We got to the top of the league in December, January, and then we lost at Sheffield United. We drew at West Brom, and City kind of won it in second gear. For me this year, if we make a challenge and we're in it for most of the season, I think that's real progress. And I think there's a good chance because you got to remember, we came second, we lost 6 games at home. We only won 9 games at home last year. You convert that, and you're in the conversation, aren't you?
What do you reckon, Errol?
Well, there was a key thing I meant to bring up before when we were talking about this result yesterday, and what you don't realise is we're on 7 points here with Liverpool and Chelsea. That was absolutely crucial that we didn't drop points again, because you got 2 or 3 teams on 9 points, but they're all going to drop off, the likes of Everton and West Ham and that. Well, West Ham dropped points, sorry. They're on 7. But it was key, right, that we're above City by a point, which is nothing, absolutely nothing, but we're above them. But the key was watching the Liverpool-Chelsea game. He's sending off Sport the game, but he sent it in a draw, which is the better result for Chelsea. But it was key we didn't drop any more points, because you're going into the international break. if you could have won the 3 games, fantastic, but we're still in there with them. And it's a difficult season. I mean, you've got to look at Liverpool and Chelsea. They're going to be tough to beat. City are always very tough to beat. You're going to have four solid challenges this season, as well as others nipping at the bud. So it's going to be tough. I don't think anybody's going to have a free run at it. I think it'll be tight all the way.
Yeah.
But if we can get a CDM in, I think, we can really push on this season and have a real crack at it.
I'll tell you what's interesting. And obviously, I thought you were going to say it then, actually, but the fact that we've gone 28 games unbeaten away and set a new record, it eclipses what Arsenal did and all that kind of thing. And I think those kind of things are really important. I think that it's a great talking point around the club. That,
it's momentum, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's become a habit. We don't lose going away. Our home form cost us last year.
Correct.
Now, if we can maintain our away form, okay, we understand COVID had a lot to do with it, but imagine maintaining our away form like we're still doing and improving our home form. And again, I just don't. You can't underestimate the stellar players we now have. Hey, there's no reason why we're not part of that conversation. I mean, like a serious part of the conversation.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like a serious challenge. I mean, you look at like last year, you could turn around and you could think to yourself, well, certain games where we didn't score, and you thought it's because we haven't got the quality. Now he's addressed that problem. He's brought in Sancho, and he's brought Ronaldo. Now they're 2 players that could contribute 40 goals. Yeah. They could, both of them could contribute an extra 40 goals as well as what you've already got.
Yeah.
And that's when you are in the conversation, aren't you? Yeah. But what I do think is we've got an exciting season, and I think when you start signing Varane, Sancho, and Ronaldo in one transfer window, it's going to make anybody think, "Whoa, there's something special happening at Old Trafford."
Okay, so imagine being a defender. It's like, right, I'm gonna man mark Ronaldo. And then there's Bruno. Okay, we'll take care of Bruno. There's Pogba. We're going to try to take Pogba. And there's Greenwood. And there's Cavani. And they just keep coming.
Exactly.
Because that's what you see with Man City. It's what you see. You stop one, but then somebody else flies through. That's, if you're going to be serious about challenging for any trophy, you need that kind of squad. And like you just said there, October's a tricky month. You have all the games through December. You've now got 2 sets of forward lines that you can change up.
I forgot to mention, Rashford.
Exactly.
It's impossible.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's what happened just today, didn't he? He literally changed the forward line because he brought Martial and Cavani, and then he put Greenwood wide, and it gave him something else to think about. And all of a sudden, because the thing is Greenwood can just naturally beat players. You can see that in him. He can beat players either side. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, guys, that wraps up another Red Shirt podcast for another week. I've got to say, it's been fantastic. I think we could have done 3 or 4 on just Ronaldo, But, Nigel, it's that time when we say, love football, be safe, and...
keep that red flag flying.
The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.